Fantasy hockey drafts are fast approaching. Time to get some blue line advice from former NHL D-man Frankie Corrado. Frankie, when we had you draft the forwards, we made you skip Connor McDavid for obvious reasons. So we're going to do the same thing on the blue line. We're going to ask you to skip Cale Makar. So after Makar, where do you go next for the heavies on the blue line?
Gino, I don't like to reveal my strategy. I have my draft on Monday, but no, I have.
We're going to be following your picks.
And I have the first overall pick, and I'm going to pick McDavid first overall. You know who I'm not going to pick? Cale Makar. But high up in that draft, you know who I'm going to pick? Miro Heiskanen, because he had a fantastic year at 73 points. He had 11 goals last year. 9 of them were at 5-on-5. So this is not just a guy that gets it done on the power play. He's a guy that gets it done at even strength, and he had a lot of power play points to boot. 34 points on the power play last year, playing on a Dallas Stars team that is going to score a lot of goals and is going to compete with the Colorado Avalanche near the top of the Central Division. Miro Heiskanen may not have the ceiling that a Quinn Hughes has, but it's a safe pick higher in the draft of a guy who's going to log a lot of minutes on the power play on a very good team and be very productive for you.
All right, let's slide a little bit further down the board. When the big boys are all now off the sheet, who's a player you think's got a big upside? We move just a little bit deeper down the draft.
You have to remember that this is fantasy hockey. This is not real hockey. You're not drafting for 5-on-5 play and defensive structure and all that kind of
It's
stuff.
all about the points, baby.
So you know who I have? Evan Bouchard of the Edmonton Oilers. He is going to have a monster season. I expect him to double his point production from last year. And when you take a look at when Tyson Barrie got traded from the Edmonton Oilers to the Nashville Predators, Evan Bouchard's point production went up a ton. 19 points in 19 games played after that, and he continued it through the rest of the playoffs with 17 points in 12 games. He is going to score a ton. He's not afraid to shoot the puck. And when you look at the power play he's going to be on again, last year they were at 32%, over 32%, the best power play that the league has ever seen. He's going to get a full season of doing that. So he's not a second-tier player this year. He is going to be right up there with the big boys by the end of the season.
All right, now we're going to put you to the real test. Who's a D-man that you've got circle on your late draft list that you say, if this guy's still around, this guy could be a big-time player?
Jake Sanderson. I think he has a big performance this year. 32 points for him last year as a rookie, and he's only getting better. His ability to get up and down the ice allows him to get into the rush and score on a high-flying Ottawa Senators team. And I suspect at some point in the near future, he is going to be quarterbacking the #1 power play for Ottawa, and that power play is potent. There's a ton of firepower there. Thomas Chabot does a great job, but Jake Sanderson just might have a little more upside running a power play. I expect him to climb up the point production charts this season in fantasy.
All right, recapping. Heiskanen, Bouchard, and Sanderson have green arrows pointing them on their way up, but we can't be all positive on this thing. Let's hand out one red arrow pointing down. Who's a player on your do not draft list?
And this is not an indictment on the player, because I think he's an unbelievable player and has been for a long time. But like I said, we're talking about fantasy. We're talking about strictly point production and how high do you need to draft certain players. So the player that I have in mind is Victor Hedman. I think this year, Mikhail Sergachev is going to get a lot of reps on that power play unit in Tampa Bay. So if you're going to pick Victor Hedman higher up, you might be better suited to maybe pick a Tyson Barrie later in the draft. You have to remember that this is points. This is not 5-on-5 play. You're not playing would you rather as a defenseman. So Victor Hedman is one of those guys maybe I don't see enough value in spending a higher pick. There's going to be some other players that their point production is going to be better than Victor Hedman's, and you can get them later in the draft.
So you think, given his past, that people might say, I'll take him too early,
it's
and
name
then
value,
get bitten
right?
by it.
It's name value.
Yeah.
It's Victor Hedman. When you're doing your draft, you look at the names, best player available, and you're like, how do I not take Victor Hedman? But maybe there's going to be a breakout forward. Maybe there's Jesper Bratt sitting there. Maybe there's Alex Tuch. Yeah, there's better uses of picks, maybe higher up, and you can get a defenseman who plays on the power play, who just collects assists day after day, week after week, and that can help you more in the long term.
As always, the comment section is open. We want your feedback. And don't forget to like and subscribe and keep coming back for your fantasy tips throughout the season.